Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast, episode 221. This week, I interview Gary Pressman from Copro Gallery. We had an excellent conversation. Gary's been around the art scene, the LA art scene, since the beginning, since the lowbrow days. He's worked for / run Copro Gallery since, I don't know, the late 90s. I don't know if I got any dates on that in the interview, but he's now the sole proprietor, and really great interview. He's in on the early punk scene, so he's a great interview, and we had a really great conversation. I just recorded this, by the way, and for some reason it stopped recording right in the middle, so I'm re-recording this for a second time, this intro. Excellent interview. Really fun. I know you're going to like it. I want to interview more galleries on here. I've got Jeremy Schott from Dark Art Emporium coming up next week, and that should be fun too. Ow! I don't know what. I just twisted. Sorry. I just twisted my wrist and it really hurt. Oh man, getting old sucks, let me tell you. Just things hurt for no reason. Anyway, so what's been going on with me? You know, Halloween was kind of mellow. Had my granddaughters over. Carved pumpkins, that was fun. And, just handed out some candy. Watched some horror movies. Kept it really low-key, but that's how it always is for me. Did some decorating in the yard. That was fun. I always get to pull out all my bones and props and stuff, and it's a good, fun family activity. Giving your granddaughter some real human bones to go place in the yard. She really enjoyed it. Halloween is like no kids come out anymore. It's kind of a bummer. For a long time, people just don't trick or treat anymore like they used to. It's kind of a bummer. But we still keep the spirit alive. And honestly, for people like us, Halloween is, like I said on Facebook the other day, retweeted or reposted something I said a long time ago. It's basically the time of the year where everybody else gets in line with what we're doing all year. It's always Halloween for us. So, that's pretty much all. I haven't been doing a lot. I've just been, I've been doing a lot. I just haven't been doing anything exciting or interesting, just business stuff, getting my business affairs in order and, finishing orders. I've got some commission work I'm working on and studies I got to finish and blah, blah. If you want to see all that stuff, though, you can go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Chet Zar. That's where I post everything I'm working on while I'm working on it, and all kinds of goodies on there. And everybody gets first dibs to buy all my new product and everything. So it's worth it if you're really into my artwork. That was the other thing that happened. We had the Chaos closing show, and that was great. Closing shows are always really low key and mellow, and not a lot of people show up, but we still do them anyway, and it's a little more intimate, and you get to talk more. There's less commotion going on, so it was cool. Hung out with Ben Shannon and Kevin Weisman, and I met a guy named Joel who was awesome, friend of Ben's. Paul Mala was there. I brought Gabe with me, Gabe Leonard. We were hanging out. Who am I leaving out? Misha George made me some amazing cookies. He painted the cookies like my paintings. He put the paintings on these cookies. They're amazing, and they're really delicious too. I hope I didn't leave anybody out, because I definitely saw more people, and I can't think of their names, but I apologize apologize if I left you out, but that was the Chaos closing show. It was really nice. It was actually really enjoyable, just to kind of hang out. And that's it. That, Halloween, catching up on things. Not exciting. Anyway, let's get on to new members, because we I talk about it every week, but you can join the Dark Art Society Patreon and be a part of this community and contribute to what we're doing. We're putting on art shows. We're just forming a community, doing like holiday gift trades. There's just so much going on in the Dark Art Society private Facebook group. It's really amazing. So you can go join at patreon.com/darkartsociety, and you can join for just $1. I'll read your name on the air here, or on the podcast. So let's see the new people here. Okay, new subscribers. Camila Winarchik. Camila Winarchik, who was was she the last guest we had on here? I think she was the last guest we've had on here. I have her name written on a piece of paper phonetically, so I know how to pronounce it, because it's a tough one. She's awesome. Thank you, Camila. We got Treyaps Trayfid, who's been a fixture in the LA art scene for years. He's been showing around and creating art back when I first started. So thank you, Treyaps. That's awesome. Really great to see you here. Let's see. We got Alan Smith upped his pledge. Thank you, Alan. That's really cool of you. I believe Alan sold his piece in the Dark Art Society, first official Dark Art Society member show that Dan Kelly put together recently. So congrats on that, Alan, and thanks for raising your pledge. That's great. Okay, we've got Slow Koshin. Thank you for joining. Sacred Bear, thank you for joining. And Ben. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. All right, enough of this nonsense. We got Gary Pressman from Copro Gallery now. I'll do Gary as a name. I may have done it before as my synesthesia name of the week. For those of you who don't know, I have gastroluxical synesthesia, where names and words have flavors. And Gary tastes like a pineapple lifesaver. Also, Cactus Cooler drink, that soda, Cactus Cooler. That's Gary. I think more the pineapple lifesaver, though. So anyway, that's it. So I hope you enjoy the interview. Here it goes. What's up, Gary?
Hey, what's going on?
How are you today?
Good. Crazy weekend.
Yeah, that's right. That turned out to be a pretty cool closing party, actually.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
It was
awesome. One thing great was there were so many local people that got your paintings. They were able to pick up the paintings and stuff. So that almost never happens, it seems like.
Right. I know. There was a my dog's trying to get in here. Ended up being like a cool crowd of people at the end, just hanging out, and it was fun. The closings are cool because they're super low key and no pressure, really. It's like all sort of mellow and just kind of chill vibe.
And that woman yelling in the middle of the street at the top of her lungs was always good entertainment.
She said she was going to call the FBI because you had her child and her baby trapped in here at Copro.
I think she did, because some FBI agents stopped by later after the open.
I bet you get a lot of that down there.
Yeah, Santa Monica. It's a great area, but I think the bums like it too. So.
yeah. It's always been, any big city's kind of crazy like that. Any metropolitan area just seems insane. But anyway, so okay. You have been running Copro Gallery for how long now?
God, 20 years, man. It's crazy.
20 years. So, yeah, I didn't realize when I first showed there at Liz's show, the Haunted Dollhouse show, I dropped that sculpture off, and you because I heard you telling someone else about it at the opening, that you had just started there at that point.
Yeah, that was one of my first shows. I didn't even know what a group show was. I don't think there was as many shows in those days,
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow, this group show thing is really cool, I mean, I think we had done a lot of Copro had done a lot of solo shows, and they did a group show, though. They did some group shows. I just, just was maybe as a employee there starting out, it just was like fascinating that, get to deal with all these artists at one time,
Right. Yeah, so, okay, first give a little bit of history about Copro, because, I mean, it's like, it's one of the first lowbrow galleries. That's kind of how it started, right?
Yeah. I mean, Copro has a lot of history. Greg Escalante and Doug Nason started it. I mean, really the whole thing kicked off with Doug Nason wanting to, and Greg wanting to meet Big Daddy Roth and get Big Daddy Roth to do some prints with. I think they started off doing prints. I think the very first thing they did a couple of Robert Williams prints.
What year are we talking here?
Like 89.
Are you serious? That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Shit.
So, that was way before the wave of everybody doing prints. So it was like really something special to do a Robert Williams print in those days. And Doug and Greg always had the aesthetic to do it super fine art. They had the money and the ambition to try to pull off a real fine art print. So it was like by a special printer on special paper. It was just a really fine art print.
Right.
So they started with that, and then they decided, Doug said, I got to find this Big Daddy Roth guy and do some Big Daddy Roth prints. So there was no way to really contact him. So they actually drove to Utah.
Wow.
To look for him. Where is, just kind of asking around, where does Big Daddy Roth
They drove out to find him?
Yeah, he drove
What a trip.
I mean, that's way before email, that's for sure. And then,
right.
And it was hard to get people's phone numbers. It's like you got to look in the yellow pages or under Big Daddy Roth. And he was just living in the desert. He didn't have a shop at that time or anything, I don't think. This is way before my time, but I've heard the stories, and it's all in the Copro book. So if you're interested, if anybody out there is interested, check out the Copro Nason book, which was written by Doug about the very earliest days onward with Robert Williams and Big Daddy Roth and stuff like that. Pretty interesting.
What were their backgrounds? Before we get into your involvement, I just kind of want to get the background. Like, what did they? Greg was in he was like a stockbroker or something. Yeah,
Greg was a stockbroker, living in Orange County, and Doug was worked for Wells Fargo Bank. Doug was like actually in the mortgage division, a big vice president type of a job. I'm not sure if he was at that time. He's still with Wells Fargo to this day. So
right.
But he's been with the bank for a long time, and Greg, they both had pretty normal jobs.
Right. Sure. But they loved this weird kind of artwork.
Exactly. They both had definitely this drive to get into this kind of art.
But how did you even find this kind of, and this, we're talking like lowbrow Robert Williams, Big Daddy Roth. It's like, how did you find that stuff even back then? It's like, how would they even know about it? Especially being those straight jobs they had.
I don't know how they actually met Robert Williams. I think Greg probably tried to buy a painting. I think they both had money, so they were both art collectors.
Uh-huh.
So they both were buying, in those days, one of the few artists that really had the best paintings around that everybody wanted was Robert Williams.
Right. And they were probably cheap too at that point, considering relatively.
Like a big painting was like, maybe like $6,000 or something.
Really?
Yeah. A big painting. Small paintings were like $3,000,
Yeah. I remember hearing about Mark Ryden painting. Someone had a small, like a 8x10 or something, or something 11 by 14 they got for like $3,000 or something. It was like, sheesh.
Yeah, Mark, the Blood Show, even Mark Ryden's Blood Show, the paintings were like $5,000.
Really?
Yeah, even then when he was showing in the Beverly Hills Gallery and had this like insane demand on his paintings, he just kind of was like still wanting to make his art accessible at that point, and not go too far with the pricing. I think right after that show is when he started to go up to like these incredible prices of $20,000 or $50,000. And as we know now, a painting's like as much as $2 million, So.
$2 million, really?
Yeah, or $3 million. I mean, for giant paintings now. So
damn, so he hit the big time.
Turned the corner, yeah.
I thought, man, I ordered one of those little. I have somewhere. I don't even know where it is. I have one of those little blood books. The little books you got. Remember, it was like a little book from the show. Like I ordered that back then because he was, to me, he was like a big shot even back then. Whoa, where'd your video go? You still there?
I'm here.
You don't have to. You don't. Okay. you don't have to do video anyway. But sometimes it's better for the connection anyway.
Yeah. No,
I just wanted to make sure you didn't cut off there or something.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay. So anyway, okay, you're I wonder how they found out about that whole scene. Like, were they into cars or something, like hot rods? Because it seems like hot rodding was one area that people discovered Big Daddy Roth and Robert Williams and stuff. I just wonder. Yeah,
definitely. I think they just kind of like, there were so few things to do in those days, so few openings and events. I think they were just tuned into it at a really early time. And I mean, even La Luz was having openings, the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, okay.
And the 01 was...
Oh, 01 was around back then, too?
Yeah, I mean, the 01 had a Robert Williams opening in, like, 1983.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Wow.
So I think just from going to those places, they started, realizing it, and they were one of the few people around at that time that had the big bucks, like $3,000 to buy a painting.
Yeah, right.
People weren't spending that. I mean, Raymond Pettibone had a show at the 01, and all the pieces were like $35, $45. He sold out.
Well, I imagine. I just read an article about a guy. I should have sent it to you. Some young artist that couldn't make it on his own, like all the big, like blue chip, trying to be a blue chip guy, and he was Raymond Pettibone was his mentor apparently. I forget the guy's name. But anyway, he apparently they couldn't sell his work. Like all the galleries were behind it, but people weren't buying it. So he did some deal to where since he had access to his studio, he was taking Raymond Pettibone unfinished drawings and finishing them. And then they had some guy selling them as finished Raymond Pettibone pieces. And now like the FBI's after this dude. And he's like, he's out in another country hiding from the law.
Wow.
Yeah, serious.
So, I imagine it would be easy to forge, early simpler drawings.
Right.
Especially if you have the framework. So.
Yeah. So, he studied under him, so he kind of knows his whole thing. But anyway, so were you collecting at this point? Because I mean, you started as a collector before you were running the gallery, right? Because you have people don't realize, but maybe people who, I think a lot of people don't realize what an insane collection you have. You have like an amazing art collection.
Yeah, I like the collection I have. I think everybody's got a different type of collection.
Right, really, yeah. Yours is very you. Yours is very you.
Yeah, Exactly.
Totally
I've always
reflects
liked stuff that I like, and I find, as crazy as possible.
Yeah,
I like,
it suits your personality perfectly.
Yeah,
you get some crazy stuff. So when did you start collecting, and how did you get into that?
The first thing, the thing that really got me excited about this art was the Helter Skelter show in 1991.
That's like a famous show, right?
Oh man, it was at Mocha, and it had like 18 Robert Williams paintings. These giant paintings. It had like bunch of Raymond Pettibones, and a bunch of Manuel Ocampo, who I really started loving after seeing that show. Just a crazy, crazy show. And I mean, it made like a 3-page article on the cover of LA Times calendar section.
Wow.
It's a huge article about it. People were lined up around the block. It was one of the biggest Mocha shows of all time, as far as just like tons of people showing up, and you couldn't even get into that giant museum, you know?
Wow.
So it was just a crazy event. Robert Williams had his appetite for destruction painting, the cover of the Guns N' Roses album, and these feminists were protesting it. So there was like protesting going on.
Wow.
And that was, you know, I guess, you know, a painting like that would cause a big stir in the 90s.
Right. Yeah. No
Come
shit.
a long way from that. But,
So,
you know.
but before you, okay, I jumped the gun a little bit. First, are you Southern California born? Like, I didn't even know this.
I was born in Chicago, but
okay.
Moved to LA, moved to California in like 1962 or so, when I was like 4 years old.
Okay.
My dad had grown up in Chicago, where it was cold and snowing, and he's like wanted to come to California, you know, where it was sunshine, orange trees.
Right.
Get a convertible. He always, you know, he got a Corvette. You know, he just had this dream of like how great it would be in California.
Right.
And it was in those days. It was great.
I imagine being in California in 62 must have been pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it did smell like orange trees where we moved to. You could smell orange trees in the air, and it was really underdeveloped.
Do you remember like your early childhood when you moved and stuff to?
I don't remember moving as much. There's just certain things that stand out. You know, one of the biggest things was my dad used to take me for drives in his, in the Corvette, like on the weekends. And we used to sometimes ride horses, and we used to go to the Spawn Ranch before Manson was even there.
Oh, really?
It was, when it was owned by Spawn.
Right.
We would, take horseback rides. We'd go out to see. We'd drive around and to see movie sets. You know, sometimes in the area. You know, he knew where some places were. You know, where movies were.
Right.
So I remember that really well. And then one time we went. I don't even remember this, but my dad swears that he took me there one day, and then all of a sudden Manson was there.
Really?
Yeah. Like all of a sudden there was a different vibe there. We're going there to ride horses, and all of a sudden these creepy looking, hippies are hanging out. And he said he saw Charlie even hanging out there.
Whoa.
And,
Whoa.
So that's the story, but I never even remember. I don't remember.
Right. That's pretty amazing. What a trip.
Yeah. So that's some of my earliest things like that stand out in your mind, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Especially, with the whole, art scene you eventually got into. I wonder how much that influenced your art collecting, because you've got some.
Well, I was like, really, when I started really getting into art, I was like in about 8th grade. I was like in like 1971, 72. Zap Comics and Underground Comics, and I was like a huge collector of. I would go to the local head shops and try to get the new Zap Comics when they came out, which had Robert Williams drawings and R. Crumb.
Right.
And I just thought that was the greatest thing I ever saw. It just totally, excited me at the time and made me want to pursue it. And I ordered. If you ordered like 100 Underground Comics, you could get them for like 25 cents each. I ordered like 100 comics. I was really into it. I had them hung up in my room.
Wow.
Like
do you
on
still have those?
Do you still have some of them, but I didn't take great care of them.
Right.
So I've been going on eBay lately and just like getting all the getting them new. Getting all the old Underground Comics that I loved. Like trying to find first editions too. So. It's even cooler to find a first edition Zap Zero, now than it was even then.
That's got to cost a fortune, though. I bet they're so
well,
expensive.
Not as much as you'd think.
Oh, really?
But yeah, some of them. I mean, some Underground Comics go for as much as $10,000 if they're like in perfect condition and an alternate cover, or
Right.
Some people collect that. I don't do that. That just seems like another habit I don't want to get into. Spending money.
Yeah, a money spending habit.
Yeah, but anyways, I just really got into that art, and also Salvador Dali. I was really into Salvador Dali in those days. I used to go to the old bookstores on Hollywood Boulevard, collector bookstores.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the Salvador Dali book and I bought it and I read it, Diary of a Madman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so crazy. I was just like totally like disturbed me. And on the other hand, just made me think this is like so incredible, you know.
Right.
I mean, he was such a rebel in his time. And, you know, people, he showed like the movie Un Chien Andalou, and people rioted and shot guns at the screen and destroyed his paintings in the lobby. I mean, you know, and I was reading stories like about this stuff that he did. And I was thinking, this is like, wow, this is what art is. You know?
Right. Yeah. It's way
that was my early
I
impression of art.
Yeah.
Like this crazy, you know, madman doing crazy stuff and painting these incredible paintings and Zap comics. R. Crumb went to jail for, you know, distributing pornography across state lines. You know, Zap comics.
I didn't know that. He went
to
jail.
He went to jail. So there was a lot of, you know, rebels in you know, in art, I guess. That attracted me. That's what a lot of that attracted me. When I was younger, you know.
Right. Were you making the connection at that time that Salvador Dali and Zap comics were both art? You know, because especially back then, there was like this huge disconnect between fine art and comic art or illustration. You know, but you were kind of seeing them in the same way.
Yeah, definitely. I was, you know, to me, I didn't really see a lot of other art. Although sometimes I'd go to. Actually, my parents used to take me to like some museums, and we see Picasso's and, you know, see other art, which I thought was still, you know, I thought was cool. I mean, I enjoyed going to museums and seeing like Van Gogh or something like that. I still thought that was really cool, but it didn't really do that much for me, like Zap comics or Salvador Dali.
Right.
Where I found out about it was there was a friend of mine in high school who was showing me all this R. Crumb, you know, showing me all this stuff. He actually introduced it to me. And it turns out he's telling me about his cousin, who's this big art collector, who turned out to be John Swihart, who has those art barbecues.
Right, so, John's awesome.
Strangely enough, I had some kind of you know, connection.
That's
even
weird.
Then.
Yeah,
it was weird. Later on, I was going to John's Swihart's barbecues for a while. Then all of a sudden he said, "Do you know a guy named Chip?" And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute." He's like, "So you're the guy he used to always talk about that was giving him these Zap comics and R. Crumb stuff." And, you know, so it's kind of crazy that it all came full circle. And now, you know.
Yeah. Wow. It's a small world. Okay. So this got you, keep going on you know, I want to get your sort of collecting history and how you got, did that lead you to working at Copro?
Yeah, well, you know, okay, so this is in the 70s. So this is my first introduction to this kind of art. And then I think I kind of lost track of it really during the 70s and into the 80s. I kind of just got into punk rock and drugs, really.
Yeah, right.
That's really, and I just didn't really give a shit about art. Although I still had my comics and I still had my books, but it really just wasn't my main interest. You know, I just kind of to me, it was more fun. And I went to film school at that time, so I was thinking making films and punk rock music, going to concerts like every 4 times a week.
Yeah, you were at the prime time too. You must have seen all the great shows.
Yeah,
LA,
man. You know, the first show I saw was like X, Fear and the Germs. That was the first show I saw. And that was, you know, in some ways that's kind of like art. I mean, I related that to art when I saw that. This is like performance art almost or something.
Well, that's what Mike Watt said, you know, when he first went his first punk show was the Germs. And he was saying that's the show that just like totally was like, oh my God, this is like a whole art thing that it's, you know, we don't have to play covers anymore, Creedence covers. We can do our own weird thing, you know, this is art.
Yeah, to me, it didn't inspire me as like, I want to be like this. To me, it was more inspiring. Like, this is like, just like insanity. This is just like crazy, you know? He's just the way, man, you know, just like, you know, and then like, just like people are getting in fights and just like.
Yeah, it was dangerous too. Back then.
Yeah, exactly. It was just insane. And so to me, it was like, I never really became a punk rocker, dyed my hair pink, or anything like that. I just kind of like, you know, was more of a kind of a cynic, but I just really enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which led me to getting involved with the Mentors, because the Mentors were like a band from Seattle, and everybody hated them.
Yeah.
So then I was on, okay, these are the cool guys. These are the guys, the punk rockers hate these guys. So,
right.
You know?
Yeah, about as hardcore as it gets.
Yeah. So I actually asked the Mentors, you want to be in a movie for my film school? And, you know, El Duce says, yeah, I'll be in your movie. And so we made a movie, Get Up and Die, about killing all the punk rockers. where he comes to Los Angeles and everybody rejects him, and they don't want to put him in the punk rock movie, and they don't want to put him on the punk rock label, so he just goes out and kills everybody. You know, that was the idea.
Yeah. It's so funny. My friend that I was in a punk band with, I remember in high school him talking about Get Up and Die.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That's how.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was you know, it was famous in the punk scene. It was like a famous movie. It was like kind of a big thing. Like all the punks I knew about it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, everybody liked it. Even though he was talking, eventually El Duce became a hero amongst punk rockers, even though at first a lot of people just hated him.
Right.
I used to love going to parties with El Duce and then seeing how long it took before we got kicked out of the party.
Yeah, he was nuts.
Yeah, Gaze X would have these parties, you know, and all the cool punk rock people were there. And then eventually El Duce would get kicked out, would start talking and causing trouble.
Yeah.
But eventually everyone loved him. Eventually, you know, he became like
right.
A punk rocker. So,
yeah.
You know, I think that all kind of led up to, you know, just like I said, performance art, or just,
right.
Just kind of got me interested in all that stuff. But when I quit drugs and I quit going to you know, punk rock was kind of fading, I think in 1985, I was looking for something else, you know?
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I was just looking for something else. And then I went to that, actually between 85 and 92, maybe I was just recovering and, you know, kind of like working. I got a job. I was working. Didn't have a lot of time. But then when I went to that Helter Skelter show, like it just was like destiny. I was like, okay, I got to just full on get into this art scene. And, you know, just really, really blew my mind. And, you know, and I was thinking, and it kind of brought back all the stuff I was into in the 70s, you know.
Right, before you started getting involved in drugs and all that stuff.
Exactly. It kind of brought me back to my original interests. So it's kind of time leap, you know.
Right.
All of a sudden back into that older mentality. And so I went to that, and then some friend of mine says, you got to go to La Luz and see this Joe Coleman show. And I'm just like, well, what's La Luz? What's Joe Coleman? You know, he's like, I'm not even going to tell you. Just go to Melrose, to this gallery. It's upstairs. Go there and check it out, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. So, you know, I went down to Melrose, went to La Luz, to the Joe Coleman show. I missed the opening. I just went to, you know, this was like a week after it opened. And it just was like the greatest art show I ever saw. I was like, just totally blew my mind. And I was like, just thinking, wow, man, this is just the great, where have I been? Like, how have I been missing this, you know?
Yeah, that was like him at his peak too, right? Joe Coleman, sort of like in his prime, kind of.
I think Joe Coleman's, you know, still in his prime in a lot of ways. I mean, he's still doing great stuff.
Oh yeah, I don't see that much stuff. Maybe I'm just not connected with the scene he's involved in, but it's like, seems like back then he was like being talked about a lot and on magazine covers and sort of like having his moment, you know, in regular society kind of. Exactly.
The thing that happened with Joe Coleman is he decided to stop showing at galleries and just do He was dealing with like Iggy Pop and Jim Jarmusch and like these millionaire art collectors that had like Bruegels and stuff. Wow. He caught some really great interest in his art with like famous people. So he just decided to do commissions and drop out of the art scene. And I think everybody forgot about him in a lot of ways. There was no Joe Coleman scene for like a long time, you know?
Right. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah. So he finally eventually now he started, you know, he's done a few museum shows here and there. And, you know, now he's showing with he started showing with like a real super blue chip gallery. Because, you know, his paintings are like in the millions now. If he does a big painting, it takes him a year. Right. He's got to make at least $1 million, especially with a gallery. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Got to sell it for $1 million or $2 million or, I don't know exactly, but his big paintings definitely are in the millions. And we went to the Joe Coleman Museum exhibit. Greg helped organize it in Orange County before he passed away. And Joe Coleman was there, and there was this guy with just kind of looked kind of almost like a bum maybe with no shoes on. He was walking around with no shoes. And some guy goes, "Oh, that's the guy. That guy's a billionaire. He's the guy that bought that Joe Coleman for like $2 million."
Really?
So, I mean, you've got to be an interesting person if you're going to pay millions of dollars for a Joe Coleman.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to get the normal everyday art person.
Right. So you went to that show, and that was.
Yeah, and I decided I'm going to buy a painting, and I had a credit card. I've never bought a painting before. I never bought art. I bought some Robert Williams prints, which I was real excited about, but it wasn't an original, I like, okay, these are some prints, some posters basically, or whatever. So when I saw the Joe Coleman original painting, I'm thinking like, this thing could be in like a museum in like 50 years, you know, this is like history, you know.
You were right.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, I've got to buy a piece of history and have this on my wall and become an art collector, So I walk up to the front and Yves Laloux, and like, I give the guy my credit card, and he goes, "Your hand's shaking, man." And I'm looking, my hands are like shaking.
Wow.
I'm like, so nervous. Like, this is $2,000, and then I'm like, "Okay, can I take the painting?" And then he's like, "Oh no, you have to leave the painting up." And I'm like, "What? I don't." Then I was like all afraid they're going to steal my painting or something. So when people do that to me now at galleries, I totally understand.
Yeah, right.
It's like when you don't understand why you can't take the painting before the show's over.
Right. Yeah. That's funny.
Eventually I came back and got my painting, and I was like all excited. Wow, I got the painting. Like I'm having all these thoughts in my head. I'm going to come back and they're going to say they sold it to someone else.
Right.
It was just, a different time for sure.
Yeah.
This is like 92 or something,
Right. Okay.
So after that, I started going to every opening I could go to, At that time, I think it was Tamara Bain Gallery, 01 Gallery, which I had hung out in the 80s, was, at a different location and doing art shows.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mary Karnowski was doing some shows at that time, or a little after that. I think there was a few other galleries. I'm trying to think, but there wasn't many galleries. But I went to every single opening there was. That's for sure. And there's pop-ups, a lot of pop-ups here and there.
Oh wow!
Greg and Doug were both doing pop-up art shows. They didn't have a gallery.
Okay.
But, they would do like curate a show and do a pop-up show.
Where would they do that at? It's just kind of
I know they did it at Mary Karnowski, the Kittens and Cads show.
Oh, so they would do it in other galleries, like have shows?
Mostly in the galleries and at tiki bars. I went to a tiki bar show, and there was an original Mark Ryden, and he was trying to sell it. He's like, "I got to sell this. It's $7,000. You want to just trying to make sure he sold the Mark Ryden for $7,000.
Right.
Nobody was buying it.
Oh my God! Which one was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like a girl that kind of looked like Tracy Lords with like in a kind of a tiki backdrop. It was about like something like a 16 by 20 or 18 by 24 type painting.
Right.
I should have bought it. I could have bought it right there.
Yeah.
He's like, "You want to buy this?" And I'm just like, it's kind of, I don't know if I have the, it would have been really tough for me to come up with.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but I mean, what's it worth? What would it be worth now? It'd be worth probably
$300,000-400,000.
Right.
$500,000 even.
That's good return on investment there.
Jeez. Yeah, definitely.
So you must have seen some amazing shows. Yeah,
there were some great art shows, and the art scene was just like the punk rock scene. Like everybody went to every single opening. Like every time you're there, you're going to see Robert Williams, Anthony Ausgang, Piz,
right.
Coop. There was just a band of people, and you'd see them at every opening without fail. Nobody's going to miss an opening in those days.
Right.
Barely ever, because, and the thing that fascinated me is there's Robert Williams, the guy that I idolized in the 70s for doing Zap Comics. And he's like, and they're so accessible,
Right.
So that's what really was different. And like, if you're going to music shows, you're not particularly going to be meeting the musicians afterward.
Unless it's a punk show, though. That's the thing. It's like it was like
punk shows.
It was like
but even then, I don't know. I didn't always meet all the punk rocker people. Sometimes, but
right.
not. Definitely a lot of them. But I never met like Exene or anything.
Right. Yeah,
a lot of the people in those early shows. I never met Lee Ving. I mean. But I did meet Robert Williams, when I started going to art shows. I did meet Robert Williams, and I met all the artists that were big at that time. So I thought this was a really cool scene. You could, meet artists.
Right, yeah.
The artists,
Yeah, yeah. So how did it develop from there? You just kept going and kept... I'm just trying to get to through your collecting years to how you got involved in Copro.
Yeah, well, I think one of the first things... that really got me involved with like Greg Escalante is we were kind of friends. We talked on the phone all the time, and I hung out with him at shows.
As like collector friends, like you were art collector friends. Is that how you met him? Because he was a collector.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just as a collector. I mean, I think really they weren't that much in the business in those days. Like I said, they did a few prints here and there with Robert Williams, and they did some pop-up shows, but mostly they worked all the time, and they didn't have before they had a gallery, and so. And they had some adventures, like I said, with, tracking down Roth and getting Roth to do some stuff. So one of the first things that got me involved was my, brother and my dad owned the Key Club, and they had a room downstairs to do art shows. So I just got this idea. I called Greg up and I said, let's do an art show at the Key Club in that room downstairs. That was like my first venture into art, and at that time, I just just met Liz McGrath, and she had their punk band. But then she says, "Oh yeah, I'm an artist. I do stuff with Tool. I've done stuff with Tool, and done some animation." I said, "Why don't you do a piece of art for this art show?" And so it's kind of exciting. It's like all of a sudden I'm curating and finding artists. And Mark Ryden was there, and then his brother put a piece in the show. We couldn't get Mark Ryden to put a piece in, but his KRK Ryden put a piece in, and it was just really cool. All of a sudden, I was like, just really enjoyed curating art shows and being involved, and that was all thanks to Greg, because that was really Greg was always so enthusiastic about it,
Yeah.
So that enthusiasm. Started to wear off on me, and then Juxtapoz started the magazine, and at that time I had like an in, because since I knew Greg, so I could call them up and say, hey, why don't you do an article on this guy, or and I took photos for him, and I'd say, what are some good photos I can take for the magazine, and it was great being a photographer for Juxtapoz, because I could take pictures of artists, meet a lot of artists. I mean, just for instance, I ran into Raymond Pettibone, and I never had met him. And I said, hey, you want to take a picture for Juxtapoz? Can I take a picture? And he just looked at me, and I said, is that a yes? He just stared at me. Like, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Mike Watt kind of walked over. What are you doing? And I took the picture. I go, just take a picture for Juxtapoz. He didn't say no. Then he just kept looking at me still.
That's what I was going to ask you what he was like, because he seems like he a very enigmatic guy, and also like kind of weird, kind of strange guy. So I was just curious.
Yeah, definitely. He was definitely didn't say one word. But like I said, to me, that was like the greatest thing of like meeting an artist, of like having him just act totally weird and just look at me and not say one word.
Right.
Like you're asking him questions and he's just looking at you.
Maybe he's answering you in his mind.
Yeah, and I think that photo probably got published in the magazine. I was also doing a cable show about art. In those days, everyone had cable shows,
right. Yeah.
Which was awesome. And everyone had like a little chalkboard. They came up with wacky theories on the chalkboard. Just incredibly like stupid shows for the most part.
Kind of like YouTube. Kind of like cool YouTube now.
Up in there, So all of a sudden, I go, I'm going to do an art cable show. Somebody in my work said, you had to get a cable show. He had a cable show. You had to get a cable show. So I started an art cable show called Art Talk with Adolf. Since Adolf Hitler was an artist, I just thought it. Tried to do anything I could do controversial.
Yeah. Yep.
And I had my chalkboard where I would lay out my theories on the chalkboard. And I did some spoken word poetry. At that time, I was writing a lot of poetry. So,
really, I didn't know.
Yeah, I was right, but it was very kind of crazy spoken word poetry.
Right, yeah.
But I did some of that on the show. So I would do spoken word. I was just trying to kind of, in a way, satirize the art scene. But I think everything I was doing to satirize it was like fitting right in with what was going on anyways with lowbrow at the time.
Right.
And I would do little segments on artists and interview artists and film them at their homes.
Wow.
And,
that's cool.
It was really cool. I got really involved with art at that point. That was a great gateway to, and I had then I got some great co-hosts. I had John from the 01 as my co-host, which was great because, whenever I ran out of things to say, I could just give it to him, and then he would just talk for 15 minutes about crazy stuff, too.
Right.
He always had a great story. And Liz McGrath was my co-host for a few shows.
Wow. Do you have any of those on video?
I do have them on video. It's just like I've kind of like put all that in the past on a shelf, and they're all on 3/4 inch tapes, and I got to see if my 3/4 inch. I keep thinking I got to put these on YouTube.
You got to put them on YouTube, man. You could have a whole. How many episodes did you do?
I did at least like 8 or 10 episodes, I think.
No, you should totally put those up, man.
Yeah, and I've got some published episodes and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's like a part of the history of the LA art scene, man. It's like this, undiscovered. It's like important. You should totally do it.
Yeah, I should definitely.
Especially should do it while the equipment still exists for like that kind of tape to get it digitized.
Definitely, I just gotta pull them all out and get them digitize it for sure, and see if they're still. The problem with tapes is sometimes they get destroyed. I had like my first episode. All of a sudden, I looked at it. I don't think it's the master, but all of a sudden it was all warbly and had static in it.
Right.
So got hit some kind of magnet or something. So I got my first episode was actually one of my favorites. So the first few episodes were my favorites. I think the more I tried to plan it, and the more the more it became like trying to figure things out. It got it wasn't as exciting as those first ones. Like pure, art talk.
Right. Wow. That's so cool. Okay, so then how are we getting to Copro? How did you start working with them?
At some point we got to get to the present.
It's good. It's great. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's cool. I didn't know most of this stuff.
Oh, cool. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of a quantum leap, from like I said, from the 70s, all of a sudden here I am, and then to the 2000, all of a sudden I'm starting to work at an art gallery. It was Greg and Doug's gallery I was friends with, and the girl there wanted to quit, and so I said, "Well, I'll take the job." And they go, "Well, we wanted to hire another girl, but we'll try you out."
So this is the place in Venice.
It was on. It was not Venice. It was Culver City. It was Sepulveda in Washington.
Okay, yeah, that's the place. The first. There's only one other place Copro was, right?
Yeah, that's true. There is only really one other location. That was like Doug lived there, and he had he lived in the back, so he had like his washer and dryer there. When I first moved in, there was like his home stereo was in the was like in the gallery, His washer. You walk through the gallery, you see the washer and dryer.
So you started working there. What? Just because you knew Greg and they needed help, or what were you doing there at first?
Yeah. The girl that worked there, it was Karen, who eventually.
You weren't working. You weren't working there when she left.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I was like unemployed. I worked in the travel business, and I had lost my job. So I had about a year of unemployment, and I was just getting into music and having a good time, really enjoying a year off, going to art openings, and I was doing okay without a job. And then I was going to openings at Copro, and Karen was a curator. She curated a few really cool shows along with Greg and Doug, but she always had this desire to be like a museum or to do museum type shows, stuff that nobody will ever buy,
Right.
just like a Polaroid show. She wanted to do a Polaroid show of a skater, just had all these concepts of stuff that, that was totally different than anything anybody was doing in art. But that, her parents were wealthy, and I guess she, went to art school. And so she had this aesthetic where she wanted to be like a museum. And she was also doing this auction, the Burning Brush auction, where they're auctioning art by like a lot of great artists, Tim Biscup and Shag and Glenn Barr, all the great artists of the time were auctioning there, and they were really cool events. You could get great art. It's one of the best ways to get art in those days of the top names, because they just it was an auction, and it was really cool. And she was like one of the main people behind it. So it seemed like a perfect fit, I guess, to Copro, but she instantly had different ambitions, and she only worked there, I think, a short time, and she was already trying to start her own gallery. And
do I know what's her name? Did I ever meet her?
I didn't even know her, because she kind of disappeared. She started a new gallery, and she kind of flopped with everything that she tried to do. A 6-space gallery, and from when I talked to Coop, she said that she was always hard pressed for money, and she could never pay him for the art she was selling. He was kind of supporting her. That's his story. Allegedly. But she wasn't doing too good with in a business sense. She wasn't a good business person. Right. So, anyways, I said, well, I'll take the job. And when I went there to train with her, I noticed that she's talking to all the other collectors about her new gallery, and she's talking to all the artists, and she's recruiting them to do shows with her.
Oh, no.
She's totally like doing everything that's not ethical. So I told Greg and Doug, I go, well, she's just sitting there. Well, she's not really training me. She's just meeting. She's doing side deals at the gallery, burning brush drop-offs, and, going to, planning your next gallery. And,
right.
And so they go, well, we need to get her out of there now. So can you take over? So I was just like thrown into the fire as far as running a gallery.
Right.
And running a business.
That was a bit scary, kind of.
Yeah.
Exciting.
It was a little scary. I was like, okay, what do I do? How do I run a gallery? But I did have a video store in the 80s for a couple of years. So I did have experience running a business.
Okay.
From top to bottom, I was the only person, it was like a sole proprietorship. So I did have experience running a business and all the stuff you have to do, and taxes and, all the stuff that's involved. So when I started at Copro, it wasn't like completely like new to me, but I did know what to do with a gallery, how to work in a gallery, and or how to sell art, really. And one thing I'll say to this day is selling art is kind of different than any other business, because you really want to be nice to people and create relationships with people, and you're not trying to get ahead and try to get the next big rung up the ladder, in the art business. That's the only way you're going to really succeed in the art business. Whenever I hear about somebody starting a new gallery, and then somebody says, "Oh, that guy was an asshole. He sold my painting out from under me," and this and that, I go, "Well, they're probably not going to last more than a few months."
Right.
And that's definitely the way it is. The way that the longevity comes from relationships and being nice to people, and and helpful to collectors, and
it's
making.
No, that's kind of what I like about this business too, is that it's small. It's not, like a regular retail type business. It's just like you're getting, you're trying to sell as much product as possible, and you're selling to people you don't know. And with, in the art world, it's like everybody kind of knows each other, and you become friends with people, and it's like, it's more of it's kind of more of a family atmosphere in a way.
Yeah. Definitely. I think the successful galleries look at it that way for sure. Yeah. I mean, at some point you're going to do a lot of things that don't make any money,
right.
And you're going to enjoy doing it sometimes,
right.
You're not always going to, if you have a successful show or museum show or whatever you're doing, if you do something successful and you don't make even a penny on it, you're still going to be like totally gratified by doing it,
Conjoined.
And I can't think of another business like that,
Yeah, right.
There's no other business like that.
I just think it's like how Conjoined is.
Yeah, I mean, that was
the most amazing show ever. Hardly.
Yeah, it was like some of the things that came out of Conjoined were amazing, like Kazu.
Right.
Some amazing things came out of Conjoined.
Right.
And it was giving a lot of people a chance. A lot of artists that don't show galleries a chance.
Yeah.
So, it was an amazing show, an amazing experience for me. And then also, it really trained me of like, okay, here's 100 pieces from all over the country and all over the world, and some of them might be broken and have to be sent back, and it's like the worst possible scenario from a labor standpoint, and everything's coming in at the last second.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for doing that, Chet, for starting Conjoined. I know we started like planning what would be a good group show with sculptures and. And actually, I want to give a shout out to Bad Otis Link too, because he had a sculpture show at the time, and at the time he was going to be in the first Conjoined. He was going to be part of it, and then I think it didn't even work out with him, or something happened, and then it just became you and me doing it.
Yeah, hey, you came up with the name. I remember.
Yeah, and I came up with the name, trying to look. We were thinking of names. But the funny thing about thinking of names for a group show is you get the perfect idea, and then you Google it, and you see there's 10 other group shows with that name, and some of them have been last month.
Yeah.
Like I go, sometimes there's a show like that going on right now.
Right.
But, so, I looked at Conjoined. I couldn't find one other show that had ever been called Conjoined. So I go, okay, this is a winner for sure.
Yeah. And that was, it was conceptually it worked because it was like you're joining, my idea with it was, getting makeup effects people to show in a fine art setting, getting people, even though it turned out to be just this huge sculpture show, but it sort of started for me. It was like, okay, let's get all these amazing artists and effects that have never really shown in a gallery, and bring them in plus regular, the sculpture artists. And so there was the conjoining of those two worlds was kind of the concept. That's the way I thought of the concept anyway. But yeah, it's like 10 years, right? 10 years.
Yeah, and I think it's even more.
11?
Maybe, right?
I don't know.
Maybe 13 or something.
Is it 13?
Maybe.
I thought the last one we did was 10.
It was a long time. That's
yeah.
For
sure. You think
it might have been 10. You could be right. Maybe 10 is right.
I know.
What was the last Conjoined? Wasn't it Conjoined 11? Or was it Conjoined 10 was the last one? Maybe that was the last one, Conjoined 10.
I think it was.
It's easy to find out how many years it was, because if it was Conjoined 10, it was the 10th one.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people took Conjoined to mean like people sewn together and conjoined people.
But that worked too. That was cool. It's like, every year people would do like a conjoined type of, like that was the thing. When it's like, I kept telling everybody, it's not the theme, it's just the name. You could do anything you want, anything that's cool. But, that a lot of times that made some really cool stuff. Yeah, we should do it again. I guess
definitely. I think the fact that we haven't done it definitely wasn't a good show for the pandemic.
I know. It's too busy.
Yeah, the best thing about Conjoined was that sometimes there was 1,000 people. I mean,
it's insane.
I've never seen. I mean, it's crazy that was like the biggest show we probably ever did, and and every year it was like the biggest show of the year.
Yeah.
It just the turnout was just incredible, and the art there was always incredible pieces.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking when we do another one, we should just do like a conjoined dark art show combined, maybe, and just make the biggest show ever, the ultimate show.
Yeah.
People are be wanting to see it again, and it doesn't even have to be in January again, particularly.
Right.
It could just be like or it could be in next. Not going to be this January. It's too short a notice.
Yeah.
But,
that's
maybe
for sure.
the January after this one, or maybe the January after this one.
Yeah. So, I always thought that would have been a great museum show.
Oh yeah.
I remember talking to Greg about that, telling him, because he was all connected with the museum world, and and he was like, I've told the story many times before. He was like, I said, it would be so popular. You see how popular it is. They'd make all kinds of money. And he was like, they don't care about that at all. They don't care about that at all. They don't care what the people want. They don't care about making money. It's like they just have their thing. They have their thing they want to do, and that's what they do.
Exactly. It's kind of like the situation I got in with taking over Copro. That girl Karen, she didn't want to do what made her money. She didn't want to do what would be the next great gallery. She wanted to do something that was like a museum or a museum art. But doing a museum art at a gallery doesn't work. That's the thing. They're two different worlds, and that definitely didn't work. For her at all. I think she was probably looking at what Greg was doing with museums and thinking the way to phase those two together. But I think they're, two different entities. There was that thing we were doing at the Beyond Eden and the stuff up at that gallery, that museum up in the hills. Who Salvador Dali had a show in the '60s.
Really?
At that museum.
Wow.
And all of a sudden a new director came in, and that was like one of the biggest attendance they ever had at that museum.
Is that the
shows that we did there? There was amazing attendance.
Is that the Ego Death preview? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we did the Ego Death there. I think we did some kind of conjoined thing, smaller conjoined thing. Some pieces there in the past. We did like some really great shows at that museum, and then they got a new director. And they didn't want anything to do with it, even though it was like the biggest attendance. They're doing shows. Nobody's coming to the shows. Nobody cares about the shows. The shows we were doing there, we're getting like incredible press and incredible turnout. It was, getting like articles written in the newspaper about. It was just insane. All of a sudden, all this coverage of that museum, and then. The new director's like, I don't care. I don't want any of that. I want to do something about, something else. She had some other type of concept that, and then I haven't heard one thing about that gallery, about that museum since, right?
Right.
Nothing's been cool there. There hasn't been any events there, so like I said, they've gone from Salvador Dali to what we were doing to like nothing.
Wow.
I hope someday maybe they do some more. It was a great space too. It was
it just seems like, man, it would be nice to have the support of the traditional museum system in that world. That's the losing Greg was a bummer just because he was an awesome guy and stuff. But that was also such a great loss for the art community because he was like the link. He was kind of our link to the blue chip world or to that kind of higher end world. And he was all about just bringing people together and making connections. He would do that all the time, and he never wanted anything out of it. It was like such a trip. He just like wanted people to meet and get together, and he was all about the
enthusiasm.
And the scene and the art. He was all about the art. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he did leave a legacy behind because now there's all these now there are museum shows of all these artists.
That's true.
So it is going, and it is going to keep going. He started it going, and like I say, he left behind a legacy because it's still going now. So if nobody started that idea, I think he was definitely a lot of people that do museum shows say, "Oh, I was influenced by Greg Escalante to do this." Put the seed was planted, and and then also can always. When the first museum shows started popping up, can always reference those other shows. Well, Mark Ryden I did a museum show with Mark Ryden. Greg did a museum. The Meat Show is a museum show also.
Oh,
with
really?
Mark Ryden, and with Shag, he did a museum show. With Robert Williams, when he did his big show, he would also do a museum show in Orange County. So he definitely, was the first to do it, and. Like I say, I think put the idea in everybody's head, and it's still going. So, did leave behind something.
Definitely, and Copro, is still going.
Gallery. Yeah.
It's Copro's become like, I don't know, like a totally unique gallery in the scene. As far as one of the OG galleries, it's like you for sure the only gallery on that level showing that kind of work, the kind of dark stuff, and
I always hope that people are thinking that way.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I'll tell you one thing that really changed the gallery is putting up that dystopia front facade in the front. I just look at the pictures of that place and I just go, man, I can guarantee there's never a gallery like it, and there's never going to be a gallery like it. unless someone just totally copies it, but
Yeah,
that could happen. But
yeah.
for right now, there's definitely never a gallery that has that kind of a facade, like this dreary haunted house.
Yeah, it's so great. It's funny too how you're so Copro's so like tucked away, and it's like even with that the woman I was talking to that at the gallery, I was showing
the
her
manager of Bergamot Station.
Yeah. I was telling she was saying how like, man, yeah, this one gallery has the most loyal fan base, and you see the same people come out, and it's really like a family atmosphere. And I said, yeah, and she's like, it's weird because it's tucked way at the very back. And I was like, yeah, it's like the black sheep gallery in this complex. And she was like, yeah, totally.
Definitely. When we got the gallery, it was impossible to get a space in Bergamot. It was people had been there 20 years or 10 years before that, 15 years, and it was just nobody left their space because it was a thriving art center of like.
Yeah, it's an awesome
tons
place.
Of people on the weekends.
For people who don't know, it's like a big complex, huge complex of all these arts galleries and studios and stuff. Really nice.
Yeah, so they had one space, that space in the back. I kept trying to get a space there, and nothing looked good. And so then they had this one space in the back, and they go, well, we're evicting this guy. He's like, he was a furniture store, and he hasn't paid rent in 3 months. And the place just looked like some dump that he was living in. It was totally destroyed. I mean, the place was just, there wasn't caps on the edges of the walls. Everything was all rusty. It was a crazy, like whatever that guy did to it was just insane. He'd
probably been there forever too, I imagine.
Yeah, he'd been there for a while. I don't think he'd been there that long. But he'd been there for a while. And so then they said, well, we've got this place for rent. Or for lease, but I don't think you're going to be able to, make any money here, or have a gallery here because, you're way in the back. Because Bergamot counted on the traffic,
Right.
And I was just such a great space, these giant ceilings and this big gallery.
Yeah.
And I just go, well, we can't turn this down because it's just such a great space. But we had an opening coming up, and I said we had to sink like I think $100,000 into it just to get it like presentable.
Wow.
As a gallery. and we said, can you do it in like 2 weeks? If you can do it in 2 weeks, we'll do it because we have a show in 2 weeks, and can you like convert this place like to a gallery?
Wow.
And yeah, they worked like round the clock and night and day.
Holy shit.
And they can, all of a sudden 2 weeks later, it was actually like it wasn't completely finished, but we had an opening there, so it was cool. So it was always like, even the manager of the property always used to say to me, I never thought you guys could do it. I never thought. I kind of laughed. I was thinking, you're gonna, this is kind of a joke. You're never gonna, get anywhere back here, because there's nobody knows it's there, and we never got almost any traffic.
Right. Yeah.
Until lately, we started to get some traffic.
Right.
The last several years. But and then, like, one of the artists, Alan Williams, told me he was talking to some other gallery in the complex, and they're going, "You're showing at that joke gallery in the back.
The joke gallery?
Guys don't, they don't know what they're doing." But they didn't know no one knew what we were doing because they weren't coming to our. First of all, we were having openings in the evening, and they were all in the day.
Right.
So none of them even came to our openings.
Right.
So they just thought that gallery way in the back. I don't know what they're doing,
Well, plus they see a bunch of weirdos walking that way, and it's funny because you have to when there's other shows there, you have to wade through like a bunch of like normal people in suits having wine, and it's all very formal, and you have to kind of you got all of us weirdos walking through to get to the cool gallery in the back.
Yeah, exactly. So for the galleries there, they never really checked it out or knew what we were doing. They just know, like you say, that a lot of weirdos were walking towards the back. Like, is that a gallery or what, are they just partying?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I think we were doing better than a lot of the galleries that were there all that time.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure. I don't think anybody had any idea. And now a lot of them are starting to move and go out of business. A lot of the galleries there, and hopefully some new ones will come along and take their places. And
right, how'd you end up? Why'd you have to move to that place?
Well, it was my idea. I just, I lived being on Culver City on Sepulveda in Washington at that time, and where Doug was living there. It wasn't much of a gallery.
It was small too, right? It was kind of
it was concrete walls. You couldn't even nail into the concrete. It was kind of insane as a gallery. But in those days, anything would do because there was just so few shows, and anybody that had that kind of art, people were like, dying to see that kind of art anywhere. So, it was still cool. And they knew everybody, so everybody would come there to have fun anyways and go to openings. Right. So it wasn't really much of a space, though. And then we had this Blab show coming up, and I go, let's try to do it. I always loved Bergamot Station because they, it was incredible in the 90s. I mean, the traffic, there was a lot of, I always used to see Dennis Hopper there, Jack Nicholson. Mm-hmm. People were driving around in Ferraris in the parking lot. It was just a super thriving place with people walking around buying art. It was pre-internet, so that was the way to buy art. You go there and you look at art, and then you buy it. You don't see it on the internet at all. Right. It don't please you. So that's one of the reasons why it was so popular, is because it's the only way to see art, buy art, and it had so many galleries. So I was always thinking I'd love to have a gallery here. This would be like the ultimate. So when we did that Blab show, we were talking about getting some bigger artists. I said, let's, I tried to rent a space from Track 16. I said, can you guys, they had a huge gallery. They were one of the founders of Bergamot Station. Oh, wow. Tom Patchett, he produced Alf, and he was one of the original people that invested in Bergamot. So he had the best gallery there, the biggest gallery. Mm-hmm.
I remember Track 16. I remember they were a name that came up a lot back when I was showing it, when I was first started to show. Yeah. Like, I think maybe they did some Cannibal Flower events at Track 16, or Cannibal Flower related events or something.
They did a juxtapose. I don't think they ever did a Cannibal Flower. They did a juxtapose show. Okay. We did a Cannibal Flower show when we first moved. I think this third month we moved into Bergamot. Oh, really? we did a Cannibal Flower show, which was awesome. It was like 1,000 people, and it was really cool working with LC. Yeah. But when we rented that space, Track 16 just had this one giant gallery. I mean, humongous gallery that was kind of empty, that because they had so much space, they couldn't even fill it. So I said, "Would you, do you guys rent it out?" They go, "Oh yeah, we'll rent it out." And they're like, "Yeah, you want to do a show this month? Yeah, it'll be like $20,000." I'm like, "What? Just rent a space? I mean, come on." So we worked it out and finally got it to something reasonable. Right. It was still, I thought, way too much, but we got something. We worked it out where it was reasonable enough, and did a show there, and it was like, it was like an amazing show. And even they were like really thought it was great because it had a lot of the people that were real popular at the time, like Gary Baseman and Tim Biskup, and Mark Ryden was there. I think he might have just given us a really cool print or something, or a sketch. I think he gave us a sketch. We had some really cool stuff. We got a lot of support from everybody to do that show. And that's when I was working at Copro, and that was like one of my first experiences really getting involved with trying to do a big event like that. I think that was my first biggest show, one of my first biggest shows. Anyways, we after that I was going, listen, we got to get a space here. And like I said, we couldn't get a space, and we finally were offered that big space in the back, And I just said, let's just go for it, man. Let's just do it. And luckily, I mean, it's pretty incredible that Doug and Greg were up for that. Right. You know what I mean? Like, how amazing is that you have, like, that I'm just really an employee at that point, and then they're okay with, like, okay, we'll let you take a loan out for $100,000 to fix this place up, right? And just just make the move over there, and just start a gallery there. I mean, they weren't even that sure about it themselves, but I was so enthusiastic about it, Wow. They definitely went along with it and said, yeah, let's do it, man, let's do it, Right. So.
That's
you won't find many jobs like that where you can make a move like that as an employee. So they definitely, I almost felt like I was an owner at that point. Right. But, without having all of the stress of being an owner. Right. So
yeah, I think most people
felt like I ran it,
Yeah, most people, I know a lot of people that had no idea that you weren't the owner for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So, because they both had full-time jobs. So right. I can't imagine trying to do something like that with like a full-time job like that, where you're working every day, 9 to 5.
Right.
He lives in Orange County. It's like a 2-3 hour drive sometimes.
Right. Yeah. That'd be insane.
But he came. Man, he's put on those miles, man.
Yeah.
He came out to LA, still come to every show and every opening.
Yeah.
I mean, driving 2-3 hours in rush hour.
Yeah. He was into it.
Yeah. So that's where it started.
Yeah. That's crazy. So, at what point did Erica start working there? Because Erica is such a huge part of the gallery as well. It's like Copro is you and Erica, and you have this way of working Erica's together.
Been, huge boost to the gallery.
Oh yeah.
I think I had some people working there. And it was cool. It was mostly me, and then they were just, mostly working behind the desk and helping me ship and doing stuff. And then they were getting disgruntled because then they, just like anybody does, they wanted to run the gallery. We're running the gallery, We don't need you anymore. But they were there a lot of the time. So, and they were kind of running it to the point of, being behind the desk all the time. Mm-hmm. And so... then they went separate ways for different reasons. And then I just asked Erica to help out. And then Erica was like super enthused right from the start. Mm-hmm. And it was, just immediately just like did the same thing I did to Greg, just acted like it was her gallery and she was running it. She was doing everything like it was her gallery immediately, and she was like, and she started the thing of packing the paintings where really well, because that was one problem. It was it's really hard to pack paintings, as everybody knows, the shipping. And I did a lot of the packing, and the girls that worked there, and just a lot of it didn't always work out. I don't think we had any major catastrophes, but sometimes stuff wouldn't make it there. I had a few problems, here and there. And that's when I realized that one of the main things about this business is the shipping, because people can't get their art safely. They're not going to keep going to your gallery, or they're not. I mean, it could stop them collecting altogether. Somebody gets a painting with a destroyed or a dent, even a dent in it, depending on who the person is. They might just stop collecting art. Going, I can't collect art anymore. I mean, if I could see it in person, I'll buy it, but I'm not going to get stuff through the mail. It's like not dependable, So we have to make it, and we ship art all over the world now. We have a lot of our client bases in different countries, and we have to be able to ship art to a foreign country, and hopefully have it arrive there within a week safely. So, with Erica, that's been possible because somehow she's got it down now to a science where she can do it. I don't think I could, if you were counting on me, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could ever do it. Maybe never.
I feel like since Erica started working with you, the gallery became fully formed, perfect with you guys working there. It's like you ran for years before that, but it just feels like, I don't know, it's like a perfect balance the way you both work. You definitely balance each other out, and Erica hangs the shows, and then you're taking care of the website and dealing with phone calls. You have you just have it all to where it's like a show comes in and you both just do your thing, and it's not like you're stepping on each other's toes or anything. It's great.
And we all do. We all help each out with it, help each other out with different things to do. She can do some of the stuff I can do, and I can do some of the stuff she can do. So, in emergencies, we can always pull through.
It's a great partnership, though.
Yeah, well, thanks. And you can imagine if one person gets sick before an opening.
Yeah.
Like a disaster.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've stayed healthy, so staying healthy is important. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep us going.
Yeah, absolutely. So this gallery, Copro is kind of like the gallery that will not die. It's been 20 years, sure. And so many things have come up to where it's like we might have to move out or whatever. They might close down Bergamot and blah, blah, blah. It's like it just is like a cockroach. It won't die. It keeps going. And it's like so many, a lot of galleries have shut down and didn't make it through even the recession, way back when in 2007, it's like, and especially during the pandemic, it's like galleries have come and gone, and Copro's been
I think it's just
busy.
Because being owned just like by me and then with Erica helping, it's just it can't die.
Right.
It's I don't know what I would do without it, so I don't know where I'm going to go. Without being at the gallery. So
Right.
I want to retire, but and I was thinking of almost going into semi-retirement, but I could still keep doing just maybe doing less shows.
Right.
But I think the art shows keep happening, and then I just feel like there's just going to keep going.
Right.
You can't stop.
Yeah.
Can't. There's no way out at this point.
Yeah.
Definitely cross the Rubicon, and
Yeah.
way past across the Rubicon, like maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 years ago, for that matter. I mean, I didn't know it then, but I did, and there's no turning back. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's like a whole community that relies on you too now. That I don't know, loves to go to the shows, and I don't know. It's such a cool family atmosphere. I'm telling you, man. Other galleries are just not like that. I've been.
Yeah,
it's like
we stopped going to a lot of openings.
There's not the vibe there. There's not the vibe there. It's like so many other galleries. It seems like they're always trying to be like fancier and fancier, and it gets more like less cool and less real or something. I don't know. It's just
it becomes a business,
right?
And
but still, you guys are able to. It's a business, but you're able to maintain this kind of. I don't know. It feels like a real scene. It doesn't feel like bullshit. Like so many other shows I go to seem like. I don't know.
Well,
there's just not that feeling there. I feel like.
Well, thanks for saying that. That's for sure. It fews good to hear it.
Oh yeah.
I don't always know.
Everybody thinks that though. Everybody thinks
cool.
that. Yeah. Everybody loves that gallery.
Cool. Well, it definitely is easy for it to turn into a business, and there's usually more than one person involved. So there's usually several owners or investors.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually not just one person. So in this case, it's just one person,
right.
Me, and then Erica.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely different in that situation.
Yeah.
Because, it's just what I want to do. There's no other influence. Nobody,
right.
Not a co-owner can't say, well, we got to do this,
Right.
I mean, Greg was a great person to work for, and I didn't have to make many changes. But even then, there was at least another word, in the gallery.
Right.
But he was always, you never find a boss like that. He was always so cool with letting me do whatever I wanted, and just like contributing to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even, in some ways, it's just to really just be completely 100% one person. That's running the gallery. It's pretty awesome,
Yeah. Not that.
And Erica, I don't want, is as important as me, but
Yeah, you guys are like a team.
Yeah.
She always hangs the shows in such an amazing way. Yeah, it's like I was saying before I wish that you guys could have a reality show.
Yeah, they were talking about doing some reality shows before the pandemic.
Right.
A few people were talking about doing art gallery.
It would be
reality shows.
It would be amazing just to see how everything that goes into setting a show up. And I've told people, how it is. It's like at the last minute you go in and you're seeing just like boxes everywhere. It's somehow minutes before the opening. Everything is pristine. It's like, wow, how did you do that? That's impossible.
Well, nothing tops the Dystopia show. That'll always be 100% like live on in history. Is like I got there at 6:30 and they're putting up that facade, and I'm going, what the hell? There's no way this show's going to be ready at 8 o'clock. Like, there's nothing there at 8 o'clock. 6:30. I videotaped it and I posted it on Instagram. It's 6:30 right now. But this is how we roll. A bunch of people like setting up the stuff in front. Like there's just tools, and it was just like insane. I'm going, there's no way this is going to be like happening at 8 o'clock. And then sure enough, 8 o'clock. everyone's going, this is the coolest show I've ever been to. This is incredible, And I'm just like, whoa, this like happened like in 2 hours.
Yeah, I had water coming out of a sewer pipe and everything.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Yeah,
a street smoke.
That's like at least like a week-long type of setup, like in a museum or something. It was like a museum show, so that's like a week-long setup. And that's how that's why I never took the facade down. They came to take it down. I go, well, can't we leave it up? This is like I can't see all that work just like going in like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
So I'm glad I've kept it up, and now I'm thinking I want to just like restore it because through all the rains and everything.
Yeah.
But that's the most incredible story. We've had a lot of shows that have like conjoined shows where it's just like we didn't think we were going to make it.
Right.
We, somehow made it, or just about made it at least.
Yeah.
But that was the most incredible. Dystopia is like was maybe the most most ambitious project.
Yeah.
And done in the smallest amount of time as far as the setup goes.
Yeah, it was crazy. Because remember also there was like the monitor section when you walk. There was the mausoleum you had to walk through.
Yeah.
There was the monitors with all the videos on. Like when you walked in by the cash register, and the walls are all painted. Were the drippy walls and the trash, and it was so cool. It was such a great show.
Yeah.
It's really like. That's what's cool about art shows. They're like those, like really great art shows are like really great punk shows because they're small enough to where it's like only a certain amount of people experience that. Where it's like if it's a band doing a stadium show, it's like you got tons of people seeing it.
Yeah.
What was that? Are you waving?
No doubt.
Waving?
Doubt.
Are you waving to Erica?
To Erica.
Tell Erica to say hello. She should come and say hi.
Say hello. Hello.
We're saying how great you are, Erica.
But yeah, we're just talking about how great you are.
Yep.
Erica is holding up a sign that says, "Be grateful to all the artists of Copro and to Chet Zar."
Well, thank you. You
want to show the sign, Erica? She's great. Embarrassed now.
No, she shouldn't be embarrassed. No, she's great. Everybody loves Erica. It's a
yin and yang situation.
Totally.
I could be kind of to the opposite, and opposite crack for sure.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like you're. She's like you're the devil and she's the angel.
Yeah, exactly. As you used to say, she's my conscience.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any conscience otherwise. I took one of those evil tests online, and I'm 93% evil. So. I passed it to some other people, and they were getting like 63, 70, 40. I go, something's wrong with me.
You were at the top of the class.
Simple questions. And I showed it to someone, and they go, no way, you're lying, you're exaggerating. I showed all the questions. I go, no, I did that.
That's
but it's always in a nice way. Be evil in a nice way.
Yeah.
As long as nobody gets hurt being evil.
That's right.
That's what's important. Be kind to children and animals and old people.
Yeah.
Seniors.
So, I mean, do you have like a long-term plan for the gallery, or are you just kind of like letting it unfold and see where it goes and just kind of doing a show every month and just...
Yeah, I mean, I'm really locked into it. Like I said, it just can't stop. It seems like it can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I just think this is just taking so much out of me. I got to like maybe slow down, but it's like the gallery's driving me more than I'm driving me. The gallery's like the shows are happening, and they're driving me to whatever. I'm taking everything a day at a time. I'm really not looking I'm always trying to look towards setting up shows in the future, but where it goes, I'm not really worried about where it goes. I know that I'm on the right path. I think when you get on the right path and you're secure on where you're going, then you don't really worry about it.
Yeah.
Everybody always tells me that I'm like, you don't have to plan things. You don't have any plan. You don't do things a certain way. Like, you're just up to improvise and do things totally different tomorrow. It's like, it's disturbing to a lot of people because a lot of people need a plan and need to have something they need to do. And with me, I'm just like, I just enjoy, like you say, having things unfold every day until whatever happens,
Yeah, yeah.
And that doesn't bother me. It's more fun that way.
I agree. And I feel that this way with the podcast too. Like, I started this thing and it just kind of keeps going, and I just do the interviews every week, and it's almost like this living entity. It's like, I know that so many people want to hear it now, and so I just like I don't think about it much other than once a week I got to interview someone, and I got to schedule that, and then I do the interview, post it, and then I just like go back with my other stuff, and it's almost like this thing that just is running on its own, and it's like I work for the thing that's happening in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's important what you're doing, because how is anybody going to, I've learned so much whenever I hear, like, that Brad Gray interview, for instance. I'm just going, this guy's got some insane stories.
Yeah.
How would you ever know? I mean, to me, Brad Gray is this guy on email that I talk to that sends me images of paintings and, titles and statistics on the painting. I don't know anything about him. And then all of a sudden I found out, what an interesting life he's had.
Right, I know.
What an interesting person he is. And, as well as several of the other artists that you've had on here. It's just amazing, the stories.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I find that, everybody has a really interesting story to tell. And I think that's probably true for most people, really, but especially artists, especially artists have kind of crazy, unusual stories, and everyone's path is always different. So it's really interesting. But I forget who mentioned this to me recently about this podcast, saying it's important because it's like keeping a record of this time that's happening right now in the art world, in this scene.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I never even thought about that, like, documenting it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way I always look at it is, one art scene, besides, if you could have been like gone back in time and been in the surrealist art scene, and been part of that, or the Dada, that just seems like that would have been so amazing to live in that time, and be part of that movement of art, I mean, can you imagine how in the 30s, 20s and 30s, what that would have been like? It's, like I said, people shot guns, at the screen, and, destroyed the art.
Yeah.
And you really upset people. Nowadays, I think people are desensitized, and you're not going to really ever shock people too much with art.
Right.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, with even that Piss Christ thing that, got by Andre Serrano, got people so upset in the art world. Would that even shock people today as much?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. That was only, 20 years ago. So it's hard to shock people. But then I think the other scene would have been the Warhol scene about, with the factory, and like, God, that would have been so cool to be back in that scene. But I think both of those scenes, if you were there at the time, it would be pretty much like this scene is to us right now. It would have been like, whatever, this is the way things are.
Right.
They wouldn't think this is going to be the most incredible piece of history that people are going to look back on as like, just wishing people they could have had a time machine and go back to that.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I can't think of like a more. There's no more, not that I'm aware of, a more vibrant art scene right now. I can't think in the blue chip or anywhere in the blue chip. Maybe I guess street art, even street art, like with Banksy and stuff, was like, it was hot for a while, but it's not really. It's kind of like, I don't know. It got. Well,
it's blue chip now. Banksy's blue chip,
right.
Which is awesome. I think it's incredible that with people like that, and even Warhol went blue chip. I mean, people basically hated Warhol for a long time. And even when he died, I think people, his opening with Basquiat, the last opening he did, he was really famous to some extent, but a lot of people still hated him, and he wasn't like wasn't something that was great, that people thought of as great as much. Some people did, but not everybody, for sure. And then when he died, then all of a sudden they had that giant retrospective. All of a sudden, the pieces are like $10 million, and
Right.
you know the write-ups, and then all of a sudden the attitude, oh, this guy was the greatest guy, person in the world that started pop art. And he did. He lives up to that name, but it's like it took a long time for people to discover that.
Right.
So I'm hoping dark art and the art that we're doing today at some point in the future becomes something like that. So, as Salvador Dali, people hated Salvador Dali. Kicked out of the surrealist group. People thought he was too weird, too weird and wacky for them. I mean, they hated him. A lot of people hated him.
Right.
And he didn't. In the 50s, you could get it was probably a lot of money at the time, but you can get a Salvador Dali painting for like $700 or something.
Wow.
It's a lot more money, of course.
Right.
But still, it wasn't $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in the 60s, I think he hooked up with a lot of Hollywood, and I think Alfred Hitchcock was one of his first, people that bought a painting for millions of dollars, or
Right.
He just all of a sudden found an audience in America. He didn't find it in Europe. He found an audience in America that had a lot of money that would buy his paintings for an amazing amount of money, and then became kind of like Banksy. All of a sudden, he wasn't this underground guy that was doing incredible stuff that nobody knew about. He was like this guy that was like rich.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I feel the same way, though. I think this, I guess the message is just appreciate it that, all the artists and people who go to these shows, appreciate, realize what it is you're a part of, because, you're going to look back and go like, man, I didn't even realize that this is like this big thing now. And, I think it'll.
Don't miss out, man. Don't miss out.
Yeah. It's a
like, like people flying in to see your show this weekend.
Right. That was amazing.
That was like such a great idea to do, because, who knows when your next show is going to be. I mean, your last show was 3-4 years ago. Right. So 3-4 years, we're talking about 2000. Hopefully it's sooner than that.
Yeah. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe.
Well,
but as far as a major, like a big show, definitely.
Yeah, like Dystopia.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we did some shows, some smaller shows, which are great too. But having the whole gallery and making it an event with the theme, like nobody else is doing that I know of.
Right, yeah.
I can't think of an artist that's really. I think there was a trend towards trying to do stuff that was cool like that at one point, but I think a lot of that stuff's out the window now. People are just basically trying to sell art right now a lot. I think there's not as many people trying to put on really cool shows and have a really cool concept. I noticed more of that at one time, but I don't think there's the time or the money or the investment or the enthusiastic people like Greg Esselani around that these days.
Yeah.
That I can think of. I mean, I just can't. Like this show is just, it's kind of like a whole. You're immersed in this whole concept of chaos,
right?
And if you're there, I mean, it's like a once in a lifetime thing. It's like there's not going to be a chaos show again.
Right. Yeah. Did you realize that someone told me I didn't even realize it. This is one of those cosmic synchronicities that the show was right in the middle of Mercury retrograde.
Wow, that's incredible. We talk about that a lot.
It's so funny. Because the show is about chaos, and it's like you
definitely tuned into that. I definitely think that the pull of gravity from planets, man, affects us. The full moon. I definitely. If you don't believe that, you just
it's true.
Just, like, in the dark.
It's a fact that crazy shit happens on full moons, and that crime goes up on full moons and stuff. It's like the police know it.
We're water. I mean, we're mostly water, our body, and the planet's gravity, it's pulling us, and that we're feeling that pull, maybe like,
or it just changes the energy somehow. There's like I've always heard the astrology explained to me too that there are patterns in nature, repeating patterns, like fractal patterns in nature, like life cycles and nature cycles and periods of time repeating cycles basically, and that's the same with the planets. and it's like, aside from the whole issue of like, gravity and actually being affected physically, there's this, it's more like a map of the cycle of, you can map out energy cycles on Earth based on planetary positions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense to me. You just have to take that leap of, a lot of people don't like to believe in energy cycles, but I don't know. It's like, to me, you could feel an energy when you walk into a situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the Copro shows are always.
Yeah, when you do mind-bending drugs, you can feel that even more.
Totally.
I mean, I have done, I'm sober like 37 years now, but when I did, I mean, that was the time when I kind of like, I can remember experiencing, like you say, energy fields, or just, you see, all of a sudden you can see what's really going on in the world. Because, everything's atoms and molecules and time and space. So, for us, we're just living our lives and, doing, trying to, find something to eat or drink or, or have fun, to us, we're just living our life. But there's a lot of things going on that you don't even think about. You're kind of cheating when you think about all this stuff, because you're finding out what's really going on. We're supposed to just like experience this and just go about our life.
Right.
But then people are starting to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
Like what's really going on,
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I was just talking to Gabe, because we drove out to the show, Gabe Leonard, and he was telling me about this video. I'd actually had seen it too, so we were talking about it. There's some science video where they were talking about how they ran these AI simulations, evolutionary simulations, to see if these AI models of humans, how they would evolve, and what traits give like evolutionary advantage, and they modeled. One of the models was like these people that see a deeper reality in things, as opposed to just a stronger type of being, and the seeker, I think it was, or like that type of person didn't have an evolutionary advantage. It's like the one that was stronger physically had the more evolutionary advantage. So it's like, even knowing more about what's really going on beneath the surface is not an advantage as a physical animal on this planet. That
makes sense.
Yeah, it's like being strong is the advantage. Something that dumb and like just simple. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like I get what you're saying.
I was watching a thing on evolution, and they did say that the reason why did human Homo sapiens become take over the planet, and why did they live when all the other beings became extinct? And they said it's because of the creativity of human beings.
Right.
It was all of the creators, that it wasn't being strong, or because a lot of the other ones were, some of them were better hunters, some of them were stronger when they could make tools, but Homo sapiens are much more imaginative, creative, and can figure out ways out of their problems, or figure out a way to keep warm or start fire, eat or whatever.
Right.
So the creative way which is probably why there's so much art today, because we are a creative species.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're here, is because we're creative.
It's true.
We could have become extinct. Homo sapiens could have become extinct.
Yep.
For sure.
And
they say by sometimes it's by 1% that we became there's it could have just been a different world. It's by 1% that Homo sapiens became the people that are run the earth, really.
Right.
So kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, wow. Okay, so we're getting.
Well, we got off topic a little bit.
No, that's all right. That's all right. That's what the show's all about. So, is there anything you want to tell people about running a gallery? You've been running a gallery for so long, and I know people have so many people have misconceptions about the art world and the gallery scene, and it's like, have you ever, is there anything you want to tell people about running a gallery?
The only thing I could tell you about that is, we want to be your friend, and we want to help you. That could sound really phony in a lot of other businesses, right. Like buying a car. We're your friend.
Right.
Want to buy this Toyota Camry for $39.95? In the art world, we really do. I was a collector, and we really do want to help you out. We want to help build your collection.
Right.
We want to help you out. We want to give you a break financially in any way we can. We want to give you payments. We want to do anything that we can do to make the experience, enjoyable.
Right.
It should be an enjoyable experience. A lot of times it's not an enjoyable experience buying art. I mean, I've had that situation. Oh, well, you're going to have to pay these fees and do this and that. I've had a lot of, when I buy art still from different galleries sometimes, and a lot of times it's great, but then sometimes I get some people, I'm just going, what the hell are you, talking about? Because, it should be an enjoyable experience. I mean, buying art and having an art collection is fun. It's not a necessity.
Right.
To life, you don't need it. And there's always some other art around the corner that people can get. If they don't get this, they can get something else, So, we want to really give people what they want and be their friend and help them with their collection. And,
yeah,
we're not like an adversary, that's for sure.
yeah. No, it's very. That's the thing about the community and stuff. It's like it's very much like this whole Dark Art Society community. It's very like supportive and stuff, and of each other. Everyone's like supportive of each other, and it's like that in the the kind of Copro community, and also. Just like when Jeremy Schott was over the gallery the other day, at your gallery.
Yeah. From
a competing gallery, Dark Art Emporium. And it's like, we were all just hanging out and talking. It wasn't weird. It wasn't like, I know other galleries are like sending spies over to look at your shows and try and...
Oh, yeah.
Shit...
Copy, shit whatever.
Like, that stuff goes on, but I'm telling you, in this dark art scene, in our scene, what the stuff that we're doing, it's not like that.
Right, and you can't copy it. You can't send spies over to see what people are doing. You can't copy it.
Right.
And you could think that you can. In other businesses, you can. Obviously, like in the TV business, you could see what show is doing really well,
right.
And then do a spin-off of that show. Say, oh, people are really into buddy comedies right now. Well, let's do a buddy comedy.
I don't think you can get away with it with
Yeah,
you can't get away with it with art though. I think that's part of the reason the gallery's successful. Is because you guys are actually it's real. You guys are into it. The artists are real. There's not a bunch of people just trying to, making paintings, trying to make the most sellable painting that'll make the most money. It's like they're into it because they're into it, and it's like they have to make money, so they want to make. Everybody wants to make money, but it's like the art comes first. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people don't want to make money, particularly some artists.
That's true.
I'm surprised they just do like a giant painting that's going to be almost impossible to sell, and they know that over and over again. But that's what they want to do. So
that's part of that compulsion, though. That art compulsion. It's hard to ignore, And
how much money do you need? How much money do you need?
Right.
A lot of times if you're comfortable and you have enough money to support yourself and everything's going well, you do think to yourself, you don't need to make more money. You just need to have a better life, really, trying to improve life, which might not have anything to do with money,
Right.
So it might just have to be more, get out more, or exercise, or take hikes, and go to the beach or stuff like that. That doesn't, So really, to improve your life isn't, I think a lot of artists realize that too. They just use a different part of their brain, the creative side of your brain, and they figure, I don't need money right now. I'm just going to do what I want. If somebody likes it, they like it. And if they don't, they don't. And they'll do that over and over again.
Yeah.
And sometimes eventually it kicks in. And I think that's been like with you, what happened, because for how many years, do we struggle to get people to become as enlightened to your art, for years and years.
Yep.
And then you just kept doing what you want. It's not like you're trying to do stuff to make more money or trying to steer your art a certain direction. But then eventually it just happened.
Yeah.
Eventually people, got on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah. And you were always supportive of that. You guys were never pushing me to like do stuff that was more commercial or something. And I remember, I always tell this story. I've told it so many times on the podcast that I remember when I was first starting out, you were like, yeah, it'll probably take you about 10 years before you start making decent money at it, getting like decent sales. And I was like, oh man, it seemed like forever. And then it was at that 10, it was this 10-year point where things like really, really did start to kick in. It's like, okay, this is, I can afford to live now. It's not so much of a struggle all the time. So I was I was pretty impressed that you were able to kind of nail it.
That's for you. That's for people like you and me. I mean, like it took the gallery several years. That's for people that are doing stuff against the grain.
Right.
Shag, for instance, he came right out of the gate selling his art like out immediately.
Who's that? Who?
Just appealed to a lot of people.
Who?
Just a much more commercial thing. We're both doing something not like
right.
different and unique.
Right.
That's what takes more time. That's why I said that.
Yeah, right.
You're going to take 10 years because you're doing something unique, and people have to like understand this and get into this, wavelength.
And you got to find the audience too, because it's a more specialized audience. Which artist did you say came out?
Shag.
Oh, Shag. Yeah, right.
Just an example. His first show, sold out. I mean,
right. Really?
Nobody. Yeah, I mean, I actually knew him before that.
I always like Shag stuff. I think Shag's great.
Yeah, his early stuff was dark. That's what's so funny. He had like the Devil's bachelor pad.
Yeah.
Tied up and being tortured with cheap guys with hoods on. I mean, he's a dark, funny guy. But he does do a lot more commercial now.
Right.
He went to illustration college and he worked a job as an illustrator in the music industry. So he is used to doing things, for money and to please people. But his art he's doing started off as being his personal project. And when I talked to him before he had his first show, because I knew him because my roommate was Stan from the band The Dickies, and Shag had done the first artwork. He got his first paid job from Stan doing an album cover for him.
Wow.
Shag was all excited that he had gotten a gig. And so I talked to him around that. I said, "Oh, you should, do some." I was interested in his artwork, and he said, "Well, you're not going to like the stuff that I have. This is like my personal stuff. It's kind of like Picasso and tiki art, and just kind of this different thing. And this is just for fun,
Right.
And he did it. He put it out, and like I said, people just responded to it. So,
right. Yeah.
Because it's just appealed to a much broader audience.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely got more commercial appeal, but it does feel. To me, his stuff feels real. It doesn't seem like phony or anything. It's like I get a sense of like he's into it, and I like it. I just think it's cool and it's funny, and it's like I like it. I've always liked his stuff. He was, like I say, strangely enough, he was one of the early dark artists. Yeah, right.
He had paintings of Frankenstein.
Yeah, I remember.
It was really dark. It's not dark anymore, but it's just like evolved or whatever.
They just released one that was like, I forget what it's called. It was like Goth Cocktail Party or something, and it's like a bunch of goths. It's great. It's great. I just saw it like a week ago or something. Really cool.
He still has that in him.
Yeah. And he's a cool guy too. I finally got to meet him, and I liked him.
He's a cool guy for sure.
Everybody's cool. That's the other thing. Everyone's cool in this scene. But okay, so the last thing I want to ask you, because we're coming up on 2 hours here, so I don't want to. Oh, we're at 2 hours. Shit.
Wow.
Sorry.
Crazy.
It goes fast, right?
Yeah.
Advice for. I know that a lot of people that listen to the show are dark artists that are just trying to get into galleries. That's probably the number one thing I get from people, especially newer artists that are trying to, build up their thing, and they want to get in galleries. So what advice do you give to artists that are starting out, like especially doing this weird stuff? 10 years? Well,
they're actually like lucky enough to be in a time with so much social media and stuff. So the solution is not for an artist that's starting out to get into a gallery. That's not their solution. Because if they're just starting out and they don't have any fans and they haven't done anything yet, they're going to get into a gallery and just probably not sell anything.
Right.
And
that's what I. Yeah.
It's just going to, it's not going to. That's not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to get into a gallery.
Right.
What you're trying to do is find people that like your artwork and accumulate, a collector base. So start posting up on Facebook and Instagram. Much like all artists have done, and people start coming to you. Okay, I like what you're doing, and start building up something on your own.
Right.
And putting your stuff out there and seeing what people's go by, listen to what people have to say, or if you get comments or, suggestions or whatever. And definitely sign up for Chet's Patreon.
Yeah.
You need to get advice from somebody that's done it before. And, don't ask galleries, oh, what do I do to get into your gallery? Or how do I start doing paintings that'll sell in your gallery?
Right.
That's not the solution. The solution is in the art itself. And, you need advice from an artist on that. If it's not Chet, ask Chet, and then maybe any other artist that you could find that you admire. Ask them advice, and definitely start putting your stuff out there on social media, and try to just talk to it, meet as many people as you can, and see if people like it. If nobody likes your art on social media or on Instagram, you're not going to be showing it it's not going to be good in a gallery,
Right.
And that's not good for anybody. It's not good if you all of a sudden, let's say you just give somebody a show that's not ready for it, and then they just put up a bunch of paintings and then nothing sells and nobody likes it.
Right. Yeah.
And you get bad feedback.
Yeah.
That might make you never paint again. You might just from there,
True.
Stop painting and go, okay, So, get there first. And when you get there, you'll know it because people will be emailing you and, contacting you and say, hey, I love this piece. Can you sell? You want to sell it?
Right.
And whether it's, for like $100, or if you could get someone to buy a painting of yours for $100, that's a good sign. Somebody wants to buy something of yours, If nobody's going to buy anything for yours for $100, you need to keep working on it.
Right. Do you ever, I guess a quick follow-up, that's basically what I tell artists too. It's like, build your following. Once you have your following and a collector base and a record of sales, then and a reputation, a name for yourself, then you'll be able to. Galleries will want you to show with them. You know what I mean? They'll be looking for you. It's not the old days where you go to a gallery. You go to a gallery and then they take care of you basically, and you don't do anything except paint paintings, and they sell your work, and it's just a different world now. It's like a different
and rip you off usually.
Yeah, and rip you off and take 80% or 70% or whatever those blue chip galleries.
That's part of doing everything for you is taking all your money.
Yeah, totally. It's true, man. But I was going to ask you too: I'm sure you deal with new artists all the time, trying to contact the gallery and try to get shows. Is there any mistake you see being done over and over that you would tell a newer artist not to make?
I would just say, it all comes down to the art itself. And I have taken an artist like Dan Quintana and Joe Vox, both off the street, that have never shown in a gallery and never done anything, and done a show with them within a month. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of art. So if the art is really great, I am going to show your art, and I don't even care about any of that other stuff. If you're really great, but if I look at every single submission that comes in, and usually, I'd say 99% of the time, the people just are not ready to show in a gallery. That doesn't mean they can't develop.
Right. It's more like it's too early for them. It's like they're not developed enough.
It's just way too early. If you're a great artist, you're going to get it. You're going to get a show instantly. I'm going to bend all the rules and just say, okay, yeah, you can have a show next week. Your art's great. But how often does that happen?
Yeah, right.
Especially these days, not very often, because there's so many galleries. Everybody's looking around for that.
Right.
We're all looking for that. There's several galleries that are looking on Instagram for something new, something fresh that nobody knows about.
Right.
So everybody's looking for that. So if nobody's contacting you and you're not selling anything, you're not getting into galleries, it's just because you're not good.
Yeah. You're not developed.
And
yeah.
you might be close. You might
Right.
be close.
Yeah.
I have seen some people that are close that aren't bad. I was thinking like, okay, yeah, another year, you
Right.
might, just keep working at it,
Mm-hmm.
And those people, I try to tell them, if you even get a response from anyone, then that means you're on the right path. If you get no response, then it's just ridiculous.
Right.
'Cause some people they're just not that, they're just amateur artists starting out,
Right,
and don't bring your portfolio into a gallery to like, hey, look at my art, like thinking that that's going to help you,
Right. Yeah. What's the best way? Is it email
just
now?
Just email.
And like a few images and that's it? And
email a few images or a link to a website. Don't put giant images in that are like, I've got a guy that sent me a bunch of 20 meg
files. Yeah.
Yeah. So these huge files. And even after that, I ended up, showing him a little bit. He was okay. I gave him a little bit of a break, but I'll tell you, I look at every single thing that comes in anyways, and I just don't respond because I say we don't accept submissions for that reason, and don't bring your art into the gallery.
Right.
And a lot of people, they're on the precipice of being like ready. They're not quite good enough. They're all right, and they keep getting pushy. And then I give them I put them in a group show or something. I do something for them. I say, let me just show you what this is going to be like, because I feel like I like them enough and they're okay, So I say, here's what it is, and then we do the show, and then the piece doesn't sell, and then they get it back, and then like that's it,
Right.
So do you want that? Do you want to be in a gallery that much? What you want to be like on the right path to becoming successful,
right.
And being a great artist. That's what you want.
Yeah, and if you're in a gallery, you want to sell at the gallery.
Right. No magic's going to happen by that. The magic's going to happen from you becoming a better artist.
Right. Yeah.
And I've seen that happen. I've seen artists that I didn't think were that good, and all of a sudden they're great.
Right.
And I go, God, I wish I would have hit this person up a long time ago.
Right. Yeah. I've seen. That's one cool thing about having been in this scene for so long is to see the growth of artists. It's really interesting to see. Some fell off, some just stopped.
Yeah.
There's guys I know that were hot back in the day, and they just went away. Who knows where they went? And then there's other people that were like not getting it, and then they just clicked They just finally clicked, and they're doing really great stuff. So that's kind of one of the fun things about it.
So keep working at it for sure.
Yeah,
whatever you're doing, just keep doing it.
Yeah. That's and again, it's like I know people in the Dark Art Society group, like the Patreon people. A lot of them are younger artists. I'm always watching too their progress. It's like I know a lot of people want to be interviewed on the show, and it's like I approach it the same way too. It's like I'm waiting. It's like I have a bunch of people I want to bring on the podcast, and I'm like they're not quite ready yet. But I bet you in a year it's going to be. You can see it. You can see where it's going, and so It's like you have like a little mental notes about different artists. Like I'm watching everybody that posts, and I watch how much as they progress, and so it's like it's a long game though. Art is a long game. It takes time. That's why everybody doesn't do it. It takes a long fucking time.
Definitely.
So,
I mean, the main thing is just creating a great, just being a great artist. I'm just coming up with great art. That's the main thing. That's forget about the business end. Just come up with some great art.
Yeah.
That people will like.
Yeah. That's true. It's art first. I'm always I push a lot of just from an artist perspective because I know a lot of artists aren't into the business part of it. I push a lot of like learn the business stuff, but I do always say you're not gonna have a business unless you have a bunch of if not your art's not good. So that comes first. Yeah. You do that first, and then the other things you build on top of that.
Right. Well, you're a huge inspiration to people. And, when you started, how long did it take you to just start getting like much better? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's the first 5 years I was screwing around and, trying to figure out what even to do before I came upon those paintings that started selling, those portraits.
Right. And that's what, that's a perfect example of me seeing something in you that I wanted to stick with you for sure. I was like 100%. I was thinking this, you were like one of the only artists that I was really, had a lot of hope for, and that, thought that you were, going to be like more of a driving force, in the scene. I mean, there wasn't many other artists. A lot of the other artists just dropped off real quick, or, so you were one of them doing the kind of art that I liked, going in the right direction. And I could see that you getting a lot better,
Right, yeah. Yeah, you bought the first one. You bought the first one.
Yeah.
Started the feeding frenzy.
Definitely.
That Cannibal Flower.
Yeah, so that wasn't a mistake.
Right.
I used to, I went to the Cannibal Flowers, and there was like, 100 artists. I mean, do any of those other artists like show at Copro Gallery?
Right,
right. You stood out, and there was other artists.
Yeah, there's a couple others.
But I don't think any of those stuck.
Right.
All the
time. Yeah, amazing. Well, thanks for coming on the show. That was excellent. That was an excellent interview, and also thanks for you and Erica for creating this gallery and keeping it going. Because really, it's. I always tell everybody, it's the best gallery. It's the best gallery anywhere, as far as I'm concerned. Not just LA, it really is. And it's like, I tell that to people when I'm talking to them at the shows, and everyone's like, "Yeah, totally." It's like the coolest gallery. It's so amazing. It's just got like just the history. Aside from the fact that you're always putting on good shows, and then you've got this history of showing all these amazing artists back in the day, and it's really amazing, and a great family community and stuff. So. And I think you're, inspiring to newer galleries too that are coming along that are actually doing cool stuff. So
yeah, it's quite an endorsement.
Yeah, it's the best. All right.
and you just reminded me like how persistence pays off, because like I said, I met you pretty early on, and I just said, "This is the guy, man. He's going to be the leader of this." I stuck with you. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
There was never a point where I didn't. Never a point where I wavered or doubted.
No. You guys are always there for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you've always been there for us. You're a huge help to us right now because.
Yeah, What's she saying?
She's just saying, yeah, he's great.
Hi, Erica.
She's always been. You've always been an inspiration. And let me see that cue card. No, I mean, if you let me read it, I can tell you what you're saying. Let me see it. Okay. Done this whole interview with cue cards. No.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool of her to do. Yeah. That's I've always felt a loyalty to Copro too, because you guys have always been there for me. So I feel like I always want to be there for you guys, and it just feels like it's what's going on behind there. She giving you shit?
Yeah, and on to the future, man. We always have a blast, that's for sure.
Yeah. No,
who knows what comes next? That's always the question.
Yes. But yeah, you guys are great. You guys are awesome. You're awesome, Erica. Can you hear me back there?
You're awesome, Erica. All right.
Thank you, Chet.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Thanks for always being so supportive.
Oh, of course. I'm happy to. I always felt like I would rather, when I was first starting, I would rather be with a gallery and then come up with them, both things going up, rather than trying to get some blue chip huge gallery to come and like lift me up to their level. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You've been the only one, I think. I don't think there's any other artist I can think of. It's been with me since the start.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every artist usually has, tries other things and doesn't want to do it that way. They want it,
always trying to jump up.
Star stepper.
Right. Right.
In fact, that's what Luke Chu said that to me. That's what, he said that right to my face. He said,
"What's that?"
"I'm a stair stepper." Because Gonna keep trying to get. That's it. I'm gonna keep trying to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
it's an approach. I've always just kind of felt, I don't know. It's like the punk rock Mike Watt thing. You know, it's like everyone rise together, all rising tide floats all boats kind of thing. And
that's ideal.
It's made a community. And it's like everybody's happy. Everyone gets something out of it instead of one person that gets the prize. It's like it's the way to go. So anyway,
definitely
awesome.
Like I said, you're the one person. That's it.
That's cool. I
Seriously,
I didn't even realize that.
It's always great when everyone.
That's it. Yeah. So now we're just looking for new people. So hopefully we'll find one more.
I'm always recommending. I'll keep my I'll keep my eyes open. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, and you have to our final word. We have to say goodbye to the audience. So you have to say goodbye, audience.
Goodbye, audience.